Hello, friends, and welcome to Mousterpiece Melodies, a podcast that's listening to the songs of Disney movies past and present. I'm Josh Spiegel.
And I'm Scott Renshaw. Thanks for joining us on this comprehensive and encyclopedic compendium of all things Disney music. Now playing the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Before we get into our discussion, thank you so much for listening. No matter how you're checking us out, we hope you like what you're hearing. And if you are, we'd appreciate it if you could rate and review Mousterpiece Melodies on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever app you're using to listen.
That's right. Let everyone know how much you love the show and tell your friends to do the same. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Scott Renshaw and read my film criticism at cityweekly.net.
And you can follow me on Blue Sky at Mousterpiece and email me at mousterpiececinema@gmail.com with any comments, questions, or opinions you'd like to share. Now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's start talking about the songs of the Muppet Christmas Carol. And to do that, we are thrilled to welcome into the show a very special guest. She is a TV critic over at Vulture and New York Magazine, Roxana Hadadi. Welcome to Mousterpiece Melodies. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me on to talk about a movie I love very much.
Well, we are delighted to have you here, Roxana, to talk. It's the reason for the season is the Muppet Christmas Carol,
Yes.
Of course. This is the 1992 adaptation of the iconic piece of English literature by Charles Dickens. This film is directed by Brian Henson, written by Jerry Jules, starring Kermit the Frog, the Great Gonzo, Rizzo the Rat, Miss Piggy, and a young up-and-coming actor named Sir Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, I know where I was and how old I was when this film came out. Roxana, I am at least going to take a wild stab and assume that you are younger than Scott, who would have been in his mid-20s when this came out. Walk me through to kind of set the stage for you. What was your initial experience of the Muppet Christmas Carol when you were growing up?
Yeah, this was definitely in the same realm for me as like Hook, in that it was a VHS classic in our house. And we didn't like own a lot of VHSs. We were going to our local Video 95. So I distinctly remember that experience of like renting it, watching it, loving it. But I don't know, my parents were not super Muppets people. Now, to be fair, they also did not like Hook, and I broke our VCR, like rewinding and watching Hook so often. So it didn't like enter the Christmas repertoire in the same way that like the Peanuts Christmas special did, or like Sound of Music or some other things. But I remember being very young, loving it very much. And at the time, just wanting the Muppets to be my friends in the same way that I wanted, like, Robin Williams, Peter Pan to be my friend. So I have a lot of, like, very fond memories of it from childhood, and then every so often have returned to it as I've grown older and need, like, a good cry. It makes me very emotional, actually, although I'm not, like, a huge, like, Dickens head. It makes me very sad, and it hits all the right notes for me. So I guess that's a very basic way just to be like, I like it, but I do like it.
You got to be very careful with how you say Dickens head.
I know. Yeah. Very good call.
That's true. Now, Scott, we've talked recently about movies from the early 90s. We talked about Dick Tracy not too long ago. We talked about The Little Mermaid. Is this one you saw in theaters when it came out in December of 92?
It is not. This was, those were really the two. 91, 92 was really when is sort of my both income and various other things. I was sort of at its lowest ebb in terms of actually seeing theatrical. And I probably only ended up seeing this. I had a roommate at the time who was about as hardcore a Muppets fan, and so as soon as it was available on home video, it came. But no, this was not a theatrical experience for me, and I don't even remember. I think this came up, when we spoke about it on the old show. That I don't remember. I don't think I saw it repeatedly. Certainly, as you said, I was already a big boy, so it was not sort of in my heavy childhood rotation at that point. And I remember, sort of sitting on a couch and watching with my roommate, and then I didn't think about it again for quite a while, despite the fact that I, watched all the subsequent Muppets features and, was fine. But it was not sort of a holiday staple or any of those things. It was just another movie that came out in that year for me.
Fair enough. So I was 8 when this movie came out. So to complete the You Talking You Two to Me reference, I was a little boy who wanted to be a big boy at the time of this film's release. And I'm sure I mentioned this type of thing on the old show, where I have always, again, to further the You Talking You Two to Me references, I love films. I love films. And I have loved going to the movies since I was a very little kid. And it was typical that kids are often very flattering to movies, to things they like. So I would almost always want to see a movie more than once in theaters. And my parents, both for income reasons and general patience and sanity, would not typically want to be the ones to bring me more than once to see a movie. But I had an aunt who lived my mother's sister, Mary, who lived very close by, was always willing to bring me to a movie if it was something I wanted to see twice. And I mention this because I have a very vivid recollection of seeing this movie the second time in theaters. It was in December of 1992. It was on a weeknight, which is critical because we went to a local General Cinema. I don't know if either of you remember General Cinema. I think it's since been bought up. It's been bought up by Regal, right? Doesn't Regal own what used to be General Cinema? I think. But anyway.
Perhaps. But I went to General Cinemas as a kid too.
So this was a very common chain. I lived in a suburb of Buffalo, New York. This was very present at the time. And we went to one that was affixed to a local mall, but also on the outs. It was pretty empty. And when I say pretty empty, what I mean is when my aunt took me to see the movie, we were the only people in the theater, which blew my tiny little mind.
Wow.
That blew I was like, you can see a movie. They'll play a movie for you, even if there's nobody there. That was how tiny lizard brain my head was. But point being, I have always liked this movie. Now, when we finished our last episode near the outro, Scott was saying that he thinks I might have a particular affinity for this motion picture because if you have ever followed me on Twitter and or Blue Sky, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I'm sorry. And more importantly, you know that I love 2 GIFs specifically. One of them I use a lot more frequently these days. That would be Vincent Kartheiser walking into an elevator, looking at James Wolk as Bob Benson and saying, "Not great, Bob." But the other one, which I have loved, is of the Ghost of Christmas Present and Michael Caine doing the bus driver dance near the end of It Feels Like Christmas. It is one of the great, wonderful GIFs. And so I think Scott made the assumption that I love this movie overall. Now, I warned Scott in advance. I have a hot take that I want to set the stage with because I know you're probably both going to disagree. It starts as a cold take, and that's okay. Michael Caine is maybe the best on-screen Ebenezer Scrooge in this movie. And also, that's why this is not a very good Muppet movie. That's my hot take. And unfortunately, it extends to the songs. Now, I would like to be very clear to the two of you and to our listeners. I am fully aware of why 2.5 years after the passing of Jim Henson, the Muppet crew was maybe not in the best emotional space or willing to make a fun, goofy, anarchic movie. I fully understand that. I think, unfortunately, approaching this movie with the level of seriousness that Dickens might have expected in that, I want to call out, if you haven't read the book in a while, this movie is weirdly very faithful. And I don't say that as a bad thing automatically, but it's a lot more faithful than you might expect considering it's narrated by a rat and a whatever. It's a surprisingly faithful adaptation, which is a good thing, except, Scott knows this very well. Of the 2 Muppet movies from Walt Disney Pictures in the 1990s based on English literature starring one very memorable British actor, I vastly prefer Muppet Treasure Island. And a lot of the reason why is that it is a movie I associate with the Muppets. The Muppets make goofy, silly movies. And yes, there is humor in this movie. Yes, there are goofy, silly moments in this movie, but this is also a more somber film. Befitting the story, I understand. But I don't think it translates into a movie and including the songs. Like the thing I will point out, and this is where we can start our conversation on the music before we go track by track. When I think of the Muppet movie, I think of Rainbow Connection. When I think of Muppets Take Manhattan, I think of Together Again. When I think of the two new Muppet movies, I think the ones from 2010s, I think of Man or Muppet, or I'll Get You a Cockatoo in Malibu from Muppets Most Wanted. If it wasn't for one specific song that has been a cause celeb online because of the movie having it and not having it and then having it again, and now it's on Disney Plus as a special feature, and we'll get to that soon, I don't know that I instantly think of a quintessential song with this movie. There's a lot of them here. Depending on which version you watch, there are 7 or 8 songs in this movie. But none of them really stand out to me. So, I mean, I want to throw it to the two of you. Is there one song in this film where you're like, this is a song I am always going to associate with this film? This is the top tier song of the pack.
I mean, I do love Scrooge. Like, I love the intro to the movie overall, because I think it does such a good job setting the stage for what we're going to see. And I remember as a child being amazed by like the sense of place and how much, to me, it reminded me of like Disney movies where, like in Beauty and the Beast and in Aladdin, you are going through like the town square or the village center and getting a sense of like, what is this community, by all of them facing the camera, as it were, and singing their songs. So I do like Scrooge very much, and I like Michael Caine's restraint in only having to say humbug and us immediately understanding like who this man is. I always like even the vegetables don't like him. I think that is like perfect for the audience of this film. So I don't know. I mean, I can totally see your point where it does not have the same level of deranged revelry as Treasure Island. But I don't know. I feel like this is my favorite version of this story, unless you're talking about like the I think you should leave version of the Christmas Carol, which is up there for me. But I would say Scrooge. I would say I like Scrooge very much as a song.
And I would say, I don't think that there really is there is no showstopper, which again, if you come at it from the perspective of here's Paul Williams coming back to where, the arena of his triumph, the Muppets, and expecting those kinds of songs. And again, I think that the Muppet movie is an all killer, no filler soundtrack.
Yes.
I mean, it's the Rainbow Connection is the show, is the thing, but every song in that is great. They are all, and part of it is just sort of the commitment of those vocal performances, because Never Before, Never Again is never going to be as good as it is when Miss Piggy is just belting it. So, but there is nothing like that here. And I think it is partly because it has to play things a little straighter. And I don't know that you can, that the performances may be part of it. I don't know if these songs, well, we've got a couple of cover examples, not too many, but they're just not catchy. And again, I think When Love Is Gone is probably the best song. And it's the one that was cut. And as you said, we will discuss those circumstances eventually. But as far as the kind of canonical version of the movie, the theatrical version of the movie, I just think there's some okay songs and nothing that's great.
And I mean, that I should be clear, that's basically where I fall with this movie. I don't know that any of the songs here are bad. I was going to say, I just saw this post fly on my Blue Sky thread, whatever they call it on Blue Sky, you know what I mean, on your homepage recently, it referring to Scrooge, where I believe the jokes that we made was, here comes Mr. Asshole, here comes Mr. Bitch, or something like that. In terms of the way the lyrics to that song are basically in the same way that Charles Dickens' narration gilds the lily about how terrible a person Scrooge is, because to be clear, it really does gild that lily. But I mean, I think I will say, the gift probably makes me biased. I think It Feels Like Christmas is probably my favorite of the songs of this movie. It is the closest, I think, to a showstopper. In a lot of ways, I think this time around I've seen this, I should be clear, I've seen this movie so many times over the years. It's something I remember watching this in middle school at like Christmas time. They're like, well, it's the end of the year, end of the fall semester, let's watch a movie in history class. Sure, why not watch the Muppet Christmas Carol, famous historical document. But the point being, I've seen it so many times, and that's probably the song that has always stood the test of time. And the other thing I want to note, I'll note about it when we talk When Love Is Gone in more detail. So we've talked a little bit about Scrooge. The other thing I'll call out about that opening song that I do like, although I think it's also a sign of what inevitably makes this feel a little more somber. Yes, many of the characters we all know and love and heavily associate with the Muppets are here, but many of them, basically all of them, except for the Great Gonzo and Rizzo the Rat, are supporting characters at best. What it also means for this song is you get to see a lot of the weirder Muppet characters, the ones who don't typically have the center stage. They are the ones you get to see in this song performing, and it's very funny. It's cute to see that. Again, I don't know that the song itself is as tuneful, and I do want to reiterate what Scott was pointing out, which is if you tell me going in, we have Paul Williams back, he's writing more Muppet songs, I'd be like, I am there. I am ready for it. And I definitely think he understood the assignment, as the phrase sometimes goes online. It's a little more somber. So, I mean, with Scrooge, though, anything, Roxana, else that you'd want to add to that one? I feel like Scott covered that too.
No, I feel like that makes sense. Again, it's like, I'm trying to think about it as when I was a child, and I'm wondering if he loves his money because he thinks it gives him power. I'm like, is that what radicalized me when I was a child?
Maybe.
Can all of my political inclinations be traced back to Scrooge? But yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's like it has to convey a certain amount of information. It cannot be sort of like off the walls. But I guess I just admire its efficiency in placing us within the story and perhaps indoctrinating me into a certain political agenda when I was a child. It's like one or the other. It's like,
I mean, the Muppets are anarchists in a way, so you can definitely see it.
And I do think that's a great point. I do think it serves that bell function of, here are all the people of the town and here's what they think about the main character. And it does, and as you said, the efficiency is really useful. I think it's also interesting that it kind of sets up what has always been true of the Muppets in a way, is that it's very matter of fact that kind of like BoJack Horseman, these Muppets and humans exist in the same world completely together with no apparent weirdness. It's just, that's just the way this world is.
Yeah. And again, it's a solid enough song. I think one reason, by the way, I'll say I like It Feels Like Christmas more is that unlike in Scrooge, as I believe Roxana already noted, we do get to, it feels like Michael Caine's part of that song, even if he doesn't really sing in that song, whereas obviously here the entire buildup is to his face at the very end of the song and him saying humbug, of course. So after Scrooge, we get if you're listening and you don't know the story of A Christmas Carol, I don't know how to help you. First of all, aside from telling you should read it, it's pretty good. I do think it's interesting to note, and I don't know that I'd realized this before, there is a deleted song that Paul Williams wrote for Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker. It would have been a song that they perform, I assume, during the sequence where they show up as the two charitable gentlemen. The song is called Room in Your Heart. I do think it would have been weird to have them sing a song, because instead the first well-known, memorable Muppet to sing is none other than Kermit himself, now performed by Steve Whitmire because of Jim Henson's passing. The song is called One More Sleep Till Christmas. It occurs after Bob Cratchit, since that is, of course, who Kermit is playing. Bob Cratchit leaves on Christmas Eve. He's heading home, and he has some fun with the various animals, mostly the rats who he works with. And on the one hand, I will acknowledge this scene definitely is there to heighten you, to give you a sense of all the cool Muppet stunts, in a way we'll call them, the different ways that you can see these characters performing as if they're more than just, little felt creatures, a la Kermit riding the bicycle in the Muppet movie. And Steve Whitmire is doing as good of a job as you can in terms of sounding like Kermit without it sounding like an impersonation that's maybe a little shaky, but also, as I said in my notes, it's fine. It's cute. I feel like this song exists primarily so he gets to sing, before the Ghost of Christmas Present section, since naturally Bob Cratchit is not in a large amount of the story. I think the most interesting part of the song is the very, very last shot, the shot of Bean Bunny, who we already saw failing to woo Scrooge with his performance of Good King Wenceslas. And you see him kind of hovering and trying to stay warm underneath this little ratty sheet of paper. And I think it's interesting because it's one of those moments where the movie tries to balance being charming, the way you expect the Muppets to be charming, and grim and bleak, a la Dickens at the time. What do the two of you think of One More Sleep Till Christmas, though?
Yeah, I feel like that's an interesting thing to point out, which is that we are getting all these obviously like very cute like pigs and dogs and mice and rats and whatever else, and yet they're still being put into these like terrible like living in walls, living in squalor conditions. So that is sort of like a little bit of a record scratch that I hadn't thought about. But I do think that I like this song because it is, again, sort of doing, how to describe this? Like I grew up Muslim, so watching movies like Christmas movies, I was always like, oh, I guess this is like what Christianity is supposed to be like. And so there is an element of that that I like in this song. Like I wrote down the line, it's a season when the saints can employ us to spread the news about peace and keep love alive. And I just remember thinking like, oh, that's so nice. But again, I don't know. I totally understand what you're saying about it not necessarily being like a catchy song, but there is something about how earnest and sincere it is in its treatment of like what this faith should espouse that I think draws me in, especially in this song, as they've all been faced with the fact that like, oh right, Scrooge is gonna screw them out of Christmas and they're just trying to do the best they can. And I feel like I'm going to defend all of these songs, guys. I'm going to
That's
be like,
okay.
they're nice and I like them.
That's
and
okay.
I feel like this is a good example of this. Like, it's nice and I like it.
That's fair.
And I think, I mean, I agree. It's lyrically, it's very nice. I think the problem I have with almost all of these is that musically, they're just not interesting. I literally wrote down next to my notes on this one word, and that word is meh. That is the, and I think that that's just sort of is, I keep listening to this going, there's nothing here that's sticky. There's nothing here that's, I mean, it is, I mean, there are more than the typical number of songs that are narrative advancing songs. And I think that's, I mean, for musicals, that's fairly typical. But if that's the case, it also needs to do something interesting musically. And I just don't think that there really is that much going on here that just made me remember. I'm sitting here with the lyrics in front of me and I'm trying to hum it in my head and I can't. Now, granted, I have not seen it nearly as many times over the years as either of you, but I can't, my head cannot hear this song.
Yeah, I can't sing any of them. That's like a great, excellent point that you both have been reiterating that is so true, which is that I'm looking at the lyrics, I'm like, oh, that's nice. I like that thematically. Look at how it's advancing the narrative. I can remember what the Muppets look like when this is happening, but you could not pay me enough money to remember how to sing this song.
Now, I was going to say, I don't have that problem with the next song, because after Scrooge gets home that night and sees the haunted door knocker in the shape of one of his old partners, since he had two Marleys in this version, not just one Jacob Marley. Those ghosts, played by Statler and Waldorf, sing Marley and Marley. Whoa! You know, it's that kind of thing. It's my obnoxious reminder at the end of every episode that I'm writing at a platform called Ghost, but it's in song form. And again, it's repetitive, I would say, in a way that it is catchy, but not automatically in a good way. Again, I put in my notes, I like that there's this blend of spooky and charming. I like the way they're trying to craft the Muppets as characters. I think this is the one time where I understand rationally why Statler and Waldorf no longer sound the same. They don't. It can't be helped. The fact that both Jim Henson and Richard Hunt had passed away in between Muppets Take Manhattan and this one means those two characters, no matter who is performing as them, from a physical standpoint, the voices just don't sound the same, which it's no one's fault, but also for me at least, it's like, I really wish that we could have gotten a version where you get to hear those two very talented men. And obviously it's a tragedy that we didn't have that happen. It's memorable in a way, but a little repetitive. Roxana, I know you're going to defend the song, and that's totally okay.
That's fine. All I was going to say is this song, to me, this is like a Ghostbusters song that suddenly found its way into the Muppet Christmas Carol. I don't even know why, but to me, I'm just like listening to it, and I'm like, you know what? This could fit into a montage of ghost fighting. And I don't know if that's praise or what that means, but I remember thinking that as a child, and I still think that now. But again, I do understand, like, I feel like their voices, like Henson's voice is not as like hard coded as it is for me, as it is for you guys. But I do feel like I understand what you're saying, because when I hear new Elmo, I'm like, this is not Elmo, and this is horrible and awful. And I guess that must be what you guys feel, where you're like, there's something about this that is just wrong. I can understand that idea.
To be fair, I feel like the reasons why we have new Elmo are a little bit more complicated than the reasons why we have new
a little different from this situation. Yes, you are correct.
Well,
slightly different context. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned kind of Ghostbusters as a thing that came to mind for you. I had a different frame of reference, and that is thinking about what this song is trying to do. It's trying to be scary enough that it's making, Marley seem like the scary thing that we know that he is from the book, but also not too scary because they're kids. And that song, and the perfect version of that, the let's make it scary but also fun, is Grim Grinning Ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. And so I'm thinking you're going, I've already heard the perfect version of what this song is trying to do, and this ain't it. And so it's hard not to think of that. It's like, how do you write a song that's like silly and lively and fun, but also creepy? And I guess someone understood the assignment in 1968 and didn't understand this assignment now.
In 1992, yeah. Yep.
But, so after Marley and Marley, we get the Ghost of Christmas Past, who does not have any songs of their own. I will say in my notes, I've always enjoyed Sam the Eagle saying, "It is the American way," whisper, whisper, whisper. It is the British way. Now, we get to a song that, depending on your point of view, does or doesn't exist. This is a true Shazam/Kazam situation, in my opinion, because the song is called When Love Is Gone. Now, I don't know, Scott, if we actually went too deep into it in our Little Mermaid discussion, but when Jeffrey Katzenberg, Mr. Quibi himself, was overseeing Walt Disney Animation, he also was overseeing Walt Disney Live Action Fair. And he had a habit of using test screenings often to guide what should or shouldn't be cut out of a movie. And he famously wanted to cut from The Little Mermaid Part of Your World because kids were restless during focus group screenings. And obviously he was wrong. And we all know that he was wrong in spite of the Oscar nomination, not going to that one. But that was a case where basically everybody involved in the movie said to him, "Jeff, dude, I'm going to walk off this movie if you cut that song." And he relented. He was right to relent. He had a similar response with this song, When Love Is Gone, a song that Belle, the young woman who Scrooge as a younger man was in love with but spurned in favor of business. She sings this song to him as a way to, say things are over. Our love is no longer here. You may feel like you have affection for me, but not really. And Jeffrey Katzenberg said, you know what? This song is it's making things too slow. The test screenings are not responding to it right. We're going to axe it. Here's the interesting thing, though. As I was reading about this online, I kept thinking, I swear I'd seen a version of the movie with this song in it. And if Wikipedia, which we all know is never wrong, is correct, the song is included on all of the original VHS releases of the film, the original 93 VHS release, which made me feel like, right, I knew I'd seen it somewhere before. And it's appeared in full screen versions of the DVD, and only recently it was placed on Disney Plus. And if you want to watch the version of the movie with this song in it, all you have to do is go to the extras section on the Muppet Christmas Carol's page. That's what I did. I wanted to watch the song, watch the film in full. And by the way, it's funny to note that with this song included, this movie is a whopping 89 minutes long. So, they were really, they lost so much. And here's the thing. I was just now looking up the actress Meredith Braun, who performs this song. And I thought to myself, wow, she was cast as Eponine in Les Miserables before this. What a surprise. If you know Les Miserables and you know Eponine, you know exactly why it's not surprising that Meredith Braun played that character and also sang in this movie. I think my reaction with this song, because I know it has been, as I noted, a lot of people who are big fans of this movie talk about the song online, because when it was not on Disney Plus, there was a bit of a fan uproar. And I kind of have a reaction like Michael Bluth opening the Dead Dove Don't Eat bag of like, I don't know what I expected. Like, this song? This is the one that everybody rallied around? It's okay. I don't know. I don't want to say I think Jeffrey Katzenberg was right, because it's not like this is a long movie to begin with. But I don't know that this is an amazing song. I think the only thing I will agree with that I've read about is that Brian Henson, who directed this movie, had said there was in the closing credits they had "When Love Is Gone" as the after score playing, which makes a lot less sense if that song's not in the movie beforehand.
Yeah,
and I do agree with that. That makes no sense. This song is fine. I think it's weird that a big fan base has kind of surrounded the song in a way. It's okay. It's cute. But I also think Meredith Braun's voice is a little much. It's a little, in its way, gilding the lily. But what did the two of you think about this one?
I literally, I just watched it earlier today, and I could not tell you anything about it. So I am part of that bad fandom, I guess, in that I have all the other ones, I'm like, oh, okay, I remember a little bit about this sequence. But I feel like in that sequence, was I just focused on how upset Scrooge is realizing, present Scrooge is realizing what he gave up? I have no memory of this song. I'm so sorry to this woman, but it does not catch any part of my brain. Yeah. Ooh, yikes.
Okay, I have a few thoughts, and I hope you'll bear with me. I will be efficient. First of all, it's clear that at the inception of this project, this was the song that was intended to be the song, because it's the song that in the soundtrack has the pop music version, the Martina McBride cover. So it's sort of their A Whole New World. It's their Beauty and the Beast. It's their, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It's the one that was meant to be sort of the single, if nothing, for no other reason. The other thing is when I watched it just a couple weeks ago, I watched the version without it. And I don't know if this frame of reference is going to be, if anyone remembers Albert Brooks' I'll Do Anything, which famously started out as a musical and had all of the songs removed. And that's sort of what that scene feels like. And similarly, everyone who kind of was hip to the industry knew that going into that movie, that there was a place where a song was going to be, and you'd sort of hear the music swell, and then it would be cut to the next scene. And that's what that moment feels like in this, is you can tell this is a song moment, and suddenly there's no song. And in a musical, that's just, it really breaks the tempo. It breaks what you expect from the way a musical is set up. And the other thing that's just bizarre to me is they leave in the reprise version. They've got the When Love Is Found. It's like, how does When Love Is Found make any sense when you haven't had When Love Is Gone to be its counterpoint? It's just absolutely insane to me. All of the decisions in this process and I get it. This is a song with no Muppets. It is a song with two humans singing to each other, and I can see how that would be less than engaging to the young audience. But just every piece of this is just, what the hell? Because it's just so bizarre.
Did they end up releasing it? So all those other songs, yes, got the single crossover treatment. What happened to this song once they removed it from the film?
I mean it was on the soundtrack. It was on the soundtrack that was released.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
both versions. Both versions
Okay.
were on the soundtrack that was released.
That's even weirder, I feel
Yes.
like. Like, if you erased it entirely, it's like, okay, you've made this decision that it does not work. But it's so weird to just cut like 3 minutes from the movie. To your guys' point, like, it's like a barely 90-minute film.
Yes. And I want to
still
know,
included on the soundtrack.
and it's so weird, by the way, like Martina McBride's version plays, I believe it's her version on the end credits, and it's, she's got a very nice voice. The thing that I had not realized, perhaps, like, that was the year she basically started. 92 is the year of her first studio album, so if nothing else, I don't know who at Disney said, we should get her to sing this, but you chose wisely. That said, yeah, I do agree. The choices around the song are baffling. And again, I think it's just, I wish that the song was better because the level of, it's here, it's not here. It's on this version, it's not on that version. It's like, I don't know that it's good enough to merit all of the attention, unlike the next song. Because after When Love Is Gone, Scrooge is very upset, asks to be taken away. We shift then to the Ghost of Christmas Present, the very jolly character who then sings a song with a big group to Scrooge, who's kind of the audience within the movie, a song called It Feels Like Christmas. And as I mentioned before, this probably is my favorite song of the film. It does have the moment that has been immortalized via GIF. But more to the point, it's a charming, upbeat number. It's bouncy enough. Obviously, none of the songs here overstay their welcome. Even When Love Is Gone is like 3.5 minutes long. It's not that long of a number. I like it. It feels like Christmas. It's the kind of song that, like, when they play the version during the end credits, I think, yes, I get it. In the same way that they were trying to make When Love Is Gone a big deal with the pop song, I get why this song plays over the end credits, because it has that bouncy feeling that you're able to kind of walk out of the theater with. I still don't know that it's uber memorable, but it's at least good. It's I think, as I said, it's the best of the songs in this movie. What do the two of you think about It Feels Like Christmas?
I feel like, so maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like this to me is maybe my version of what you guys are talking about with Treasure Island, where this to me feels like the best use of the Muppets, at least from a visual perspective, because it feels like the most celebratory moment for all of them up until this point. And so I feel like the Muppets themselves are more involved, and I just love the Ghost of Christmas Present construction Muppet device. Like, I just love how he looks. And so I just feel like there's a lot of like very memorable visual stuff happening here. Like, I'd written in my notes, mice and horses and more mice and dogs and prisoners and more horses. Like, it just feels like there's a lot happening in a way that I really enjoy. And again, just going back to like, what did this movie teach me about Christianity as someone who is not Christian? I always liked the, when you do your best for love, it feels like Christmas. I was like, oh, that's nice. That's like a nice little message for people who are watching. But yes, of course, then there is also like the forever immortalized dance gif, which like bless Michael Caine for his service.
Yes.
It's adorable.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like what you're saying is that this is the best production number in the movie.
Thank you. Yes.
And I would agree with that, because this is a song I am more than willing to watch this sequence. And then I think about, would I actually just listen to the song outside of that sequence? And the answer is no. I like watching it because of what's going on screen, but it's not because the song is good. It's because the world building, the animation or the puppeteering, all of those things, that's good stuff. And that makes it feel better than the song itself alone does.
Yeah, it definitely is elevating whatever the song is to be spending time in the village square in a completely different tone from what we had gotten with Scrooge earlier. Like, it does a very good job, I think, of like tracing the contrast at this point with who Scrooge is going to become versus who he was. So yeah, the production of it is the perfect not coming to my brain in the moment way to put that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. So it's again a solid number. After that, we get the sequence at the Cratchit house. So this is where we get to see Miss Piggy as Emily Cratchit. I will say the only moment in the movie where I know Frank Oz performed I forget offhand. I feel like Frank Oz may have only done the voice work for Fozzie and Miss Piggy here and not the actual performances. But the one moment where we feel like we get the real Miss Piggy, I should note, is like they're talking about the food that's being made and her whole, it does, doesn't it? That like the rude, like sharp way that she says it, like, that's Miss Piggy. And then we get the little, it's not really a song, the little scat thing that Bob and that Kermit and Robin the Frog as Bob and Tiny Tim scat together as they're walking home. Then we get to Bless Us All, a song that Tiny Tim, leads for the entire family, as this is part of the famous, Scrooge, the founder of the feast, indeed. That whole thing where Mrs. Cratchit is very mad at Scrooge because he's, a terrible person. And Kermit, as Bob, is trying to say, my dear, Christmas, we have to be nicer, we have to be friendlier. And I don't know how much of a hot take this is. I put this in my notes. I don't know what to tell you.
Uh-oh.
I don't like Robin the Frog. I have never liked that character very much. I think that he, like this song, is too sappy, too saccharine, too cutesy. As I wrote this in my notes, a song in which he sings as the lead is not my bag. So it's not actually a bad song, but I just like, I think you could argue like Tiny Tim, that entire construction of that character in the original story, not just in this movie, is meant to be very sappy and saccharine. You're meant to have your heart swell when you realize at the end that Tiny Tim, who did not die, right? And I get that. I understand it conceptually. And Robin is the right character to play Tiny Tim within the Muppets. I'm not even going to disagree with that. I don't like it. I don't like it. That's a me thing. That's a me problem. I'm willing to accept that. What did the two of you think of Bless Us All?
What I'm hearing is like death to Robin the Frog.
I mean,
very, very dark.
I appreciate your concise wrap up there because not quite, but still.
I do agree that this is the like highest point of I get what you're trying to do and I get the sentimentality and that's absolutely fine. But for me personally, it was like I was already on the ride with the movie. Like I was already feeling everything I needed to feel. So I do feel like this almost like boomeranged me out of it. Like, I don't know. It was not my favorite by any means. And I do feel like it is almost not overstaying its welcome, but there's something about it, I agree, that feels slightly less. Is authentic the right word? I don't know. But there's something about it that does not hit for me as much as everything else. And certainly not as much as like the final sort of like sequence. But yeah, this one is not entirely there for me. It is almost like the previous song where I was like, I don't even remember. Did I watch that? I have no memory of what happened there.
Josh, you mentioned saccharine, and as I said, the one word I wrote down for Once More Sleep Till Christmas was meh. The one word I wrote down for Bless Us All was saccharine. Mm-hmm. And I think that you're right that there bathos is sort of inherent to Tiny Tim. So in some ways, this is the perfect Tiny Tim song, but that doesn't make it something I want to listen to. I don't want to immerse myself in how sad Tiny Tim's life is, and yet he was always, I don't remember what the line is. That he's always the happiest among us, or whatever it is. No, not one I will listen to again willingly.
And again, and I think we can reiterate what you just said there, Scott, which is like even in the conception of the character, even the conception of the character is he's sad. Like it's a sad experience. Like thinking about the character and how Tiny Tim's life must be, it's very sad. This song is doing what it's supposed to do. It's just, maybe we could just skip that scene entirely. Sadly, not the case. But after that song, we then shift to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And I don't know if it's just my recollection of it versus reality, but I was thinking this time, like, I remembered that Great Gonzo and Rizzo are both mostly just like, well, see you later. Bye. Like, they're like, this is too freaky for us. We're done. I'll tell you, Mickey's Christmas Carol, the little short movie from the mid-'80s, I feel like that is a scarier evocation of the future where Scrooge dies. This one gets there a little bit, but it's a little bit more anticlimactic, I think. And I only note that because after that sequence, which is pretty short, I feel like, we get to the final full song in the movie, and that would be Thankful Heart. And this is the one where Michael Caine actually gets to sing. And I think this actually might be my second favorite song in the movie. It is.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you that Michael Caine is a great singer. Put it this way. There's a reason why Michael Caine doesn't sing a lot in this movie, but he is, as we've talked about, and I think the famous anecdote that he's shared is that when they offered him this role, over people like, and this is according to the internet, people like George Carlin, who were considered to play Scrooge, and I'll tell you, I would love to have seen that. I don't think it would have been as good as this, but Michael Caine had said, I'm not going to play down. I'm going to treat this like it's the Royal Shakespeare Company version of A Christmas Carol. And he undeniably is doing it. It's such a sincere, genuine performance, and that includes his performance in Thankful Heart. His singing voice may be thin, but he has such good energy, and I think the song also does a really good job of tying up loose ends, such as they are in terms of where we saw the character and how he was interacting with the Muppets in the first act. It's, again, can I sing any of it right now? Not really. But I think it's an effective song. It wraps the plot up well, and it utilizes Michael Caine in the way that I maybe would have wanted, even in When Love Is Gone or other sequences. How about for the two of you?
I will defend this like I will defend Russell Crowe in Les Miz.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
I'm so sorry. Where I'm like, the singing ability does not matter to me. It matters to me that he is giving 110%. And that is what Michael Caine is doing. I'm surprised that his little, sort of like smirking smile as he sings this song is not more gift online, because it's so fun. So no, not a good quote unquote singing performance, but yeah, I love the delivery of like, what is mine is yours. Like, I think that he is conveying well enough that like Scrooge has changed. He's no longer this like dour, terrible man. I do like the physicality also, that's like half dance, half just like walk around the village. It works for me. I think it is, again, probably like Scrooge. I like it as a bookend here to be like, where he was, this is where he is now. That was Michael Caine as a grump. This is Michael Caine as a man who was reveling and hanging out with some Muppets. But yeah, it's not good. I couldn't sing it, but in the moment, I'm like vibing.
The stalwart internet phrase that has been applied to Michael Caine's performance in this is he didn't have to go so hard. And he went so hard. And that is the thing. He is so fully committed to this thing. And that does make that, again, the moment, the scene, the on-screen stuff is worth watching, but the song isn't. And this is the recurring thing, is there's so many opportunities for these sequences to be enlivened by better songs for what everyone else is bringing to it in terms of the energy. And I just wanted better songs over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to do my very best to pretend like the Russell Crowe comparison didn't come up earlier.
Excuse me.
No. Well, if we want to go down that road, all I will tell you is that Stars is one of my very favorite Broadway songs. And I think the nicest thing I can say about Russell Crowe in Les Mis is that Tom Hooper set him up to fail by making the actors sing the songs live.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Fair. I mean, again, it's a cute movie. It has okay songs. I want to be very clear. This is a movie that is a perennial favorite in my house, in most houses. It's a good movie. And for future discussion, because I know Scott and I will one day talk about Muppet Treasure Island on this podcast, I'm not going to pretend like the songs in Muppet Treasure Island are amazing, but I can sing a couple of them off the top of my head if I need to. And I want to note, by the way, we haven't called this movie a cult film at any point, but I kind of feel like it almost belongs as a cult movie because I should note, this only made $27 million domestically. when it came out in 92. It did not do well against movies like Aladdin, which Scott and I talked about earlier this calendar year, and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, which is definitely a movie that exists. They're both very popular movies. That much is true. This one it's one of those cases where 90s kids, like me, like Roxana, it's like we kind of willed this movie into being over time, which is fine, but something to just keep in mind. So I should note, in terms of cult movie, we have recently talked about a lot of, hey, this movie got nominated for these Oscars, for those Oscars. This movie got nominated for 0 of those, which is not surprising, to be fair. Scott, I know you always love to do covers. You alluded earlier, though, not a lot of notable covers for this film songs?
Not a lot. Real quick, though, because you mentioned Muppet Treasure Island, I will say, and this is what tells me that there's something. It has probably been 20 years since I've seen Muppet Treasure Island. I could still sing You Love Let Us Here.
There you
I
go.
could still sing You Love Let Us Here. And that, I think, is, I can picture them hanging upside down while they sing it. All of that is in my head despite that. So anyway, but yeah, I think that there's something obviously about Christmas songs that there should be more of them. It feels like there always should be more covers of Christmas songs. And yet the one thing that I found, and if we were doing this 1 year ago, we wouldn't have found it because this song was released in October of this year, is Fall Out Boy's cover of It Feels Like Christmas.
Stop. Wow.
And if you can just hear in your head what Fall Out Boy would do with It Sounds Like Christmas, it's probably exactly what you would hear when you listen to this song. So if you can look up on YouTube, find Fall Out Boy's It Feels Like Christmas, and if you thought that they couldn't make We Didn't Start the Fire any worse, then you were wrong. Then yeah, they can make anything worse.
Ouch. Well, that is harsh, because they were apparently saying on X, the Everything app, not 2 months ago, that they think it's the greatest adaptation of Charles Dickens' story, and now you're telling us that they have profaned the Muppet version. I haven't heard it yet. I'm also Fall Out Boy is a band where it's like, yeah, I get it. I'm not a big fan of theirs, but I'm aware of them. So I did not. I know you sent that to me, Scott, but. I have no, you did. You emailed me like a week ago, like, you can't believe it, but it's real.
I said, if I had to know about this, you had to know about this, and you still don't know.
I'm sorry. I have a pretty good idea. But anyway, by solemn promise to you, Scott, between when we're recording this on December 10th and when this episode goes up in a few days, I will listen to the song, and I will weigh in on Blue Sky, which is not the same, but it still counts. Any final thoughts for the two of you on the Muppet Christmas Carol, or should we close things out?
I mean, my feeling now is that if we're doing like a Fall Out Boy thing, we should do like a My Chemical Romance cover of the entire soundtrack.
Wow.
That would actually
They
be
do
really
a pretty
fun.
sweet Marley and Marley. I can. Oh, wow. All right.
Yes. I think that could be like actually very fun and good. But no, I feel like we covered it all. I do appreciate you both for being like, Roxana, these songs aren't good, but it's nice that you like them.
No, and listen, they're not bad. They're just, for me, they're there. They exist.
Understand.
Here, I'm going to bum the two of you out, and we're going to tie it back before we wrap things up to Roxana's comment earlier about, did this movie radicalize you? Admittedly, I'm on Blue Sky right now, and somebody posted a few years ago, for your annual reminder, according to Christmas Carol, Bob Cratchit makes 15 shillings a week, which adjusted for inflation is $13.50 an hour.
Okay.
That's a pretty big bummer to consider.
Yeah, that's not the best.
But with that in mind, and happy holiday to everybody, let's wrap things up. So, Scott, why don't you take us out?
So with that, it's time to turn down the volume on Mousterpiece Melodies. What's on the playlist for our next episode? From 2009, The Princess and the Frog. And while you wait, make sure you subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. Roxana Hadadi, thank you so much for joining us. I know we mentioned your credits at the top of the show, but can you let listeners know where to find you all over the internet?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. You can find me at Vulture. You could find me on Blue Sky, still on X. I don't know why. Eventually I will close up shop there. And you can hear me on like other podcasts, but none as fun as giving me the opportunity to say maybe Russell Crowe is like a good singer.
Oh boy! Now, hang on. Listen. Here's my holiday gift to you: is I'm not booting you out right now.
You're not literally pushing me out the door.
I kid. But of course, we'd love for all of. Oh, Scott, were you going to say something?
Just in Muppet vaudeville tradition of bringing the big hook.
Fair enough. Now,
totally.
Of course, we'd love for all of you to listen along with us. Tell us what you think. Do you love the songs of the Muppet Christmas Carol? Do you hate them? And by the way, to tie a bow on our earlier comment, Scott last time alluded to me presumably having affinity for the songs of this movie. I have a very high affinity for the songs of The Princess and the Frog, so I'm very excited to talk about that movie next time. Not that I wasn't excited to talk about this one here. Either way, whatever comments, questions, or opinions you'd like to share, you can always share those with me at mousterpiececinema@gmail.com. Follow me on Blue Sky at Mousterpiece. Scott, where can our listeners find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Scott Renshaw, and you can find me on Letterboxd at Scott Renshaw. My primary outlet is Salt Lake City Weekly, and there you can find me at cityweekly.net. And I'm Scott Renshaw.
And I'm Josh Spiegel, and we'll see you all next time on Mousterpiece Melodies.